Yeah. All right. Well, Professional Casual Fans Podcast, Episode 4. Starting off with a bang. Quite literally. All right, so we had ourselves quite a week in the pick'ems, right? What did I finish?
10-6.
10-6. Nah, that would be that's like a fringe playoff team.
Yeah,
I think
that's
in the
pretty
NFC,
solid.
I'd be going in pretty solid. I'd be a division winner in the NFC this year.
Yeah, most likely. I finished
And you were
7-9.
7-9.
Went a little risky. The risk was there because there were a lot of upsets this weekend. I just chose the wrong teams to make those upsets. I just
You
had
indeed
faith
did
in the
risk
wrong.
it for the biscuit, and I'd say you got the biscuit fell on the ground for 10 seconds, and then you picked it back up. So you kind of got the biscuit, but it's
Done.
not.
The only reason I
good
got the biscuit, the only saving grace, honestly, to that week, honestly, it was bad on my part, choosing all, those underdog teams, not the right ones. So, should have seen the Ravens game coming. I had a feeling, but, didn't support him last week. Heard it from Logan that I was going to catch the shit when I'm wrong about the Ravens. So I was like, they got to win this one. And then I was wrong again about the Ravens.
Dude, Minshew Mania. Baltimore falls victim to Minshew Mania.
Yeah.
You kind of knew every time he's in, he's good for that first start he has. He's good for the win.
Yeah, he's the new Ryan Fitzpatrick. Exactly like Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Yeah.
He comes in one game, just lights it out of nowhere, catches a dub on a miracle win. Going crazy.
Six-pack in the locker room beforehand. Comes out.
Has cool facial hair.
Yeah. But he's got the right idea. He's got that backup mentality of he's kind of I don't give a fuck. I'm just going to go out there and just
I'm going to sling this fucking bitch. He really does. Works out for him sometimes.
Matt Gay was going nuts on the
Justin Tucker coming up
3 or 4?
Yeah,
He's
5.
That's 5,
5 field goals. I think 4 over 50.
Yeah. But Tucker now's got 2 missed this season, right?
I know, dog.
You know how long my dad has been saying, every year he's always talking about how kickers always have that year. And he's like, Tucker's got to have that year soon, right? The one where he just starts missing ones and he gets in his own head, and maybe this is it.
To his credit, though, they both are long field goals that he missed, like a 61-yarder. Only Justin Tucker is the first. You're like, yeah, that should go in. You're like, yeah. So I'm not going to thank him for missing a 61-yard field goal because I'm like, only Justin Tucker, I'm thinking. It's going in. So if it's anyone else, I'm like, fair to miss that. So I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt. And with one. Yeah, that was wild. He steamed it too.
Second of his career.
Yeah. Oh, who was the Cardinals guy? The Cardinals kicked a 61-yarder. Yeah.
Prater. Yeah, Prater's he's got to be 70 years old and he's still booting it into oblivion.
Yeah, and I thought it was just because Denver for a while, but this dude just has cannon for a leg also.
He did it in Detroit. He's been doing it in Arizona.
Yeah.
Speaking of you called that.
That was the biscuit that was the one that picked the biscuit up. That saved the week.
Biscuit.
It was the one I was most confident in for some reason. I think the reason was because it's the Cowboys, and for some reason I saw the downfall coming early this year. They were riding high. Best defense in the league. Gonna be like the 85 Bears, 2000 Ravens, Legion of Boom. Oh, gonna be the goats. Micah Parsons a lion on the field. He's stalking prey and eating people. But turns out none of that's true. Micah Parsons might be a lion.
His weakness is as a mere tiny bird.
Yeah. Well,
he falls to. But yeah,
the prey wasn't big enough.
Exactly. The Cowboys cowboyed as hard as they've ever cowboyed. And yet still you see on ESPN and stuff, I saw it this morning, they were like, this isn't the same Cowboys team of old that folds. It's How is it not the same team? Like they played two bad teams, beat the living hell out of them. They play a third bad team and they lose to them. Like that's that's what they do.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's going to go the same way. They're going to have a good season. I don't have any doubts about that. They'll probably go win 11 games. They'll go into the playoffs with all this expectations, and then Dak will do what he does. And then I think honestly next year they're going to go in as with Trey Lance in mind as a starter, because I think at that
I
point
think
they're
so
going to be
too.
like,
I
we
think they're
need to move
ready.
on.
This is the make or break here. Like Jerry's tired of waiting around for another Super Bowl. Ain't getting younger. He's about to. Sad to say, but he any day could
He's
croak.
starting to look like a jack-o'-lantern or something.
I know,
Like one of those that are
like
out in middle of November.
So he wants that Super Bowl ring. If Trey Lance, he thinks he has a better shot because of a higher ceiling. Maybe I don't really see it too much in Trey Lance. I liked him coming out of college a little bit, but he wasn't impressive at all on the 49ers, and we've seen Jimmy Garoppolo be able to play behind that with all that 49ers talent. So he should have performed better against the Bears last year.
Trey Lance had two things going for him coming out of college. One was that he kind of looks like Patrick Mahomes. And the other was his highlights in his 1 year playing it. Or was it South Dakota or North Dakota? It was South Dakota, right?
South Dakota State or something like that.
Yeah.
Carson Wentz is
him and Carson Wentz. Yeah. Is that in his 1 year he actually made Mahomes throws. But everybody said, him going into that draft, it was he's really raw. It's gonna take some time to develop him, and the Niners took the chance, and it showed. I don't know. We shouldn't have been surprised that he needed snaps. That was the bottom line.
Yeah.
He never got that there, so I'm still interested in him to see what he could do if he just gets more snaps. But
he could be an explosive
this is not
player.
the Trey Lance.
But he has the arm talent.
For sure.
He had a cannon for an arm. So he has that going for him. Has an NFL arm. As long as he can get the mental down and be able to read defenses and all, he should be a good quarterback when he gets snaps. But I don't know.
For now, he's sitting behind Cooper Rush.
He has that raw potential like Anthony Richardson, and Anthony Richardson showed more flashes than him in those 2 weeks.
Snaps. He's already played more than Trey Lance.
I know, but still, in the snaps I did see of Trey Lance, I never saw any fun. Yeah, it didn't look good.
Yeah. All right, so moving on from Trey Lance, I know everybody loves to talk about Trey Lance, but we're gonna have to cut it off. This week was kind of blowout city. It was we had the Bills blew out my Commanders. It was a sad one. You gave me even more hope. I was going into that game feeling good. At kickoff, I was
faith
ready.
In you guys.
Yeah, but it was rough. Howell had one of the worst quarterback performances we've ever seen. 4 interceptions, 9 sacks. I don't think you can really play much worse. 0 points. And it's one of those things where it's if this was last year and it was we had an identical thing happen to us last year with Wentz, when Wentz got sacked 9 times and looked awful against the Eagles. But it just shows you the difference of this year we're kind of going into this knowing Howell is a young guy. My Siri just turned on for some reason. He's a young guy. He's going to do this, maybe not to this extent. Hopefully this doesn't happen again. But his whole thing all year, the coaches have always said, is that he's able to self-correct and that he never makes the same mistake twice. So, I think they need to kind of go back to the drawing board. Brian Robinson only touched the ball 10 times. He was averaging 5 yards a carry, and he was gashing them. And for some reason, they went away from the run. And I thought there was a pretty clear blueprint in that second half to how to even get back into that game, because it was 16-0 going into the fourth quarter. It wasn't like it was a blowout the whole time. And then Antonio Gibson fumbled it, and that's when it really got away from us. But doesn't get any easier for them. They're facing the Eagles next week, so we'll see how that goes. But regardless, the Bills
got ugly late. I feel like you guys were. I feel like you were close in that game for, in the first half. You guys went into halftime down, but I was like, God, there's still chance here. I still have faith that my bet on this team could hit.
Yeah.
Like, I was feeling, because you guys were close. It wasn't like you were getting super outplayed in the first half. I think just the turnovers in the second half killed you. Like you said, moving away from the run game was massive for the Bills defense, because that just let them take advantage of pass rush, getting 9 sacks, and then 4 INTs because of applying pressure and just in-house face for the rest of the game.
Yeah, it was one of those things where, I mean, it was killer as far as like throwing interceptions in the red zone, not capitalizing on red zone opportunities. There was clear opportunities for us throughout that first half. We were in scoring position, and they just either throw an interception or they make incredible mistakes, take sacks, and they're out of field goal range. And it's one of those things where it just felt like they were outclassed at a certain point. But hopefully you learn from this. I like what Hal said at the end of the game, and he just basically said, you don't flush it. You have to learn from it. And, hopefully they do, because otherwise it's going to be a sad rest of the season.
Yeah, hopefully it's not going to be that ugly ever again.
All right, so the other ones we had, the Dolphins put up 70 points against the Broncos, and Sean Payton and the Broncos Nation Let's Ride is not looking too great, right? The ride is looking short and bad.
They got road.
They did get road. It was a whole, when he said Broncos Nation Let's Ride, people didn't realize what he was actually saying. He was telling people to ride them.
Yeah, that was the ugliest performance from a team, with the most beautiful performance by a team on the other side. Like, the Dolphins, like, I watched that entire game and I was just like, damn, Mike McDaniels is just an offensive genius. Like, this dude is just scheming up people to just get wide open. I mean, there is some Broncos fault there, because you're like, damn, how can you leave Tyreek Hill wide open with like no defensive back within 10 yards, Like, he just stupid mistakes like that. But also, then you got Mike McDaniel somehow steaming up for this Devon A-Chain guy to run for 200 yards. And it's like, how is that guy a part of the scheme too?
They're reminding me of the Milwaukee Bucks of football, where they're kind of going into this like positionless sort of like mindset. Like, you're seeing like they have wide receiver, like you don't really have like these defined. Obviously, you have wide receivers, running backs, whatever, but like everybody is playing everywhere, and all they have is fast guys. That's all they need, is just fast guys on the offense.
Fat stars.
Yeah, and it's like no one can keep up with them. Now, I do have concerns because I don't know if Tua is going to stay healthy all year. And it's one of those things, he's kind of in a position like Brock Purdy, where all he has to do is facilitate and he should be all right. But if he gets hurt, like, it's, they're right back to where they were last year.
I don't know. Mike White comes in and goes, "Let me drop a ball." So Robbie Chosen, the chosen one.
Dude, how nauseous were Jets fans watching Mike White just kill it in that second half?
God, imagine, did you hear what Robbie Chosen said after the game? He goes, by the fourth quarter, you got us all in. I was thinking, let's go for 100. I didn't care about mercy or something like that. He was talking about trying to go for 100. I was like, God damn, ruthless.
Dude, he's changed his name like 4 times. It was like Robbie Chosen. It was like Chosen Anderson. It was Temple Zone, baby. Temple Zone.
Touchdown. Like 60 yards.
Yeah.
It was wild.
He was in there like praying and stuff too. It's like, dude, what? It's like acting like he just scored like the game-winning touchdown of the Super Bowl in a 70-20 game.
I was talking to my dad at the time on the phone, and I go, "Oh, they throw a deep bomb and they're up by 50 now."
Unreal. And then, it's honestly nice to see Sean Payton kind of taking this in the face. Because he was
so
like such an
him.
asshole such an asshole during the offseason. And like, you could just feel like he knew he was incompetent. He knew the team was incompetent. So he was like trying to build it up and blame it on Nathaniel Hackett. He was like doing like almost like a cover job, like saying like, look, it was really, I mean, Hackett had nothing going on here. So if we suck, like this is not my fault. It's not my fault. It's his fault. And now here it is. It's Nathaniel Hackett's fault that they're bad.
I just think the everyone, saw what Russ was last year, just personality wise, and none of that team is motivated to play for him. Like, I just don't feel they have any connection to their quarterback. And when you don't have a connection to the leader, the supposed person that's supposed to lead your team into charge, into battle, and this dude, and no one lights him there. No one. I feel like no one lights him on the Broncos.
Yeah, I do wonder if they're gonna if this thing gets out of hand. And next week, I think they don't have such an easy opponent next week either, do they? I'm trying to.
No, I don't believe so. They have.
Let's take a look.
I think they had a rough schedule to start the year.
Let's take a quick gamble or gander.
Like
yes.
Going. Bears. No, it's the terrible game of the year. They got
even
the
that
Bears.
Game, I can see Justin Fields like running all over
him. Yeah, I mean, it's just wild because their defense was good last year. Like, I could argue that Sean Payton has done a worse job than Nathaniel Hackett this year coaching, because at least they had a defense last year. At least, like, they were close to winning games because they were only allowing 18 points.
Yeah. He looks like a grandmother on the sideline. Like, have you watched him at all? Like, he looks like a grandmother or something. He's like
Nathaniel Hackett. He just looks
Sean Payton.
Oh.
He's always over there just like. Yeah, he looks like a disappointed grandmother. Like the kids are playing too close to the road or something, and they won't listen.
Yeah. He comes in his press conference. Question.
Yeah, he's gonna kill Russell Wilson by week 6. That's my guess.
Yeah, he was not happy. 50 points. Ridiculous. First time since like 1966 a team scored 70 points.
Well, the team also, like, if you look at Denver now, like, there's not much talent there. Like, last year you had talent kind of on the defensive side of the ball, and offensively, I think, like, their wide receiver room was kind of sold big, but I don't think they're that good. Like, Jerry Jeudy is slowly but surely kind of approaching bust territory.
So far he has been a bust. Like, he hasn't done anything.
No, he's not at all. Like, his routes are kind of messy. Like, he doesn't have the burst that he had in college. And, like, Cortland Sutton's good, but he's still got he's recovering from he hasn't been the same since that ACL. And who's the other guy that they got from Penn State? Hamler isn't even on the roster because he had a heart defect. I mean, that's not his fault. But.
The star, I think, in their receiving room so far this year has been that Marvin Mims guy.
The kid from Oklahoma.
Yeah, he's been making big plays for them. He's been like the only person on offense that shows flashes of any life, it seems like.
Yeah, he's been huge on special teams. Even in that game, he had another big return for him.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, Dolphins look legit. They look like the best team in that division. But I mean, the Bills look, like Josh Allen looks like he hasn't, like he's looked like himself. Seeing it firsthand, he looked exactly like everything that he's kind of described as. Just making really hard throws, such a strong arm. But once again, it's one of those things, like, I will not buy them until I actually see them play well in December.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not going to hop on the Josh Allen full bandwagon again. Always liked him coming out of
Wyoming.
out of Wyoming. He had a big arm. But then really enjoyed him, like really got into him when he hurdled that man his first year in Minnesota. That's when I was like, this dude is my dog. but then he kind of gets his dick sucked by the media now. Like, everyone kind of just be glazing him up. Yeah. And like, I don't see, because the Bills are still favored. They're favored this week by 3. I know they're in Buffalo, but
they're in Germany,
Miami,
aren't they?
Are they in Germany? I thought this was Buffalo.
Isn't that the Germany game? Yeah, let me. What's the Germany game?
I thought it was like the Chiefs because I'm pretty sure Chiefs Dolphins.
Right. Yeah, Chiefs Dolphins. Yeah, sorry, I was listening to something today, and I was like, "What am I talking about?" There is a Britain game. It's Jacksonville and Atlanta, though.
Yeah, so Jacksonville's winning. But what was I saying? God damn.
You're saying they're favorites.
Oh yeah, the Bills are favored to win, which just like I think the Dolphins wins this year have been more impressive. Like I know they played the Broncos, but like no one else is gonna drop 70 points on a team this year unless it's the Dolphins again. Like I just don't see any other team being able to do that. Also, the Bills past 2 weeks. Sorry to hate a little bit on your team. The Raiders not a good team. The Commanders have talent on defense, but not the best. Like they're not like top tier team. You know what I mean? Like the Steelers beat the Raiders this week. Like I'm not that impressed by the Bills beating the Raiders, stomping them. That's what they should do.
Yeah, they handled the Raiders. They struggled against the Jets, which I think they were kind of more emotional. That was like an emotionally fueled win by the Jets. Yeah, they kind of blew their entire 17 weeks load in 1 week right there, it seems.
But also losing to the Jets just makes me like Zach Wilson and the Jets.
And like, just bad interceptions. He was throwing really bad interceptions in that game, but he's taken care of the ball a lot better since that game. So it shows he kind of learned from that, I think, a little bit. He's got the talent. Yeah, I mean, it was a rough loss for us. You hope we bounce back. But yeah, I mean, they haven't had like a terribly impressive win yet. And I do think Miami's the class of the AFC right now until someone else proves otherwise. But it's so early in the season. Like, that's the other thing is, you know.
Tua and Mostert on the fantasy team this week. Woo! That was wild. And every league I'm in, during the game, I was looking up A-Chain. I was like, where is this guy? Is he a free agent?
Unbelievable, dude. All right, so we had that one. The Chiefs, as you mentioned, the Taylor Swift mania, as she was there to watch her new beau.
Did you see people are hating already on Travis? Swifties are hating. Did you see the
fight he got in or in the offseason? It's insane that she went from Matty Healy, the lead singer of the 1975, who's like this scrawny British guy, to Travis Kelce. Who's like obviously not a white, scrawny British guy.
He's a dog. He's the goat at tight end.
He is. He is in such a lose-lose situation. Like, that man is like, I don't think he realized what he got himself into. I think it was one of those things that was always like, all right, this is never going to happen. Like, she's never actually going to, like, reach out to me or anything. And then and then right now he's like a dog. Like, the Joker always says, like, a dog that gets what do you call it? A mail truck, and he doesn't know what to do with it. Like, that's Travis Kelce right now. He's like, I'm screwed.
Well, it's just gonna be funny when the breakup song comes out and she's just roasted him for his post routes and all.
And she samples the Tomahawk Java song. Oh,
yeah, just behind it, and she's just fucking spitting on that track.
Yeah. It's just some kind of thinly veiled thing about like dropping a touchdown pass or something.
Yeah,
or how Jason's the better brother.
Yeah, everyone goes crazy. Like, oh, he was there.
Right here, she said the number 62. She was talking about how she thinks Jason Kelce is the better of the two brothers.
She said number 87 in blue and blue and red. Calling out Gronk. Not you,
she said number 88 because she was saying that Tony Gonzalez is the best tight end in Kansas City history, not Travis Kelce. But yeah, the Chiefs handled the Bears. The Bears are just every week just creeping closer to like they're getting beaten into like the Bears fans are getting beaten down so badly that they're laughing now and they're like happy. Like, they're like happy that they're losing. And it is a sad sight to see. But I think Justin Fields is. He just looks. I saw a film breakdown of him the other day, and they were going over how he's not trusting his eyes. Yeah, like he's just not. He sees wide open guys, and he's deciding. Like you can see like this one where he's like his first instinct is like he goes first read, goes second read. He's like panicking and not watching these things develop, and you can see him like panic to go run, and then he stops again to like go look again, and then by the time he like looks back down, the rush is already there for him, and I mean we've beaten this horse the past 2 episodes about how bad Justin Fields has been, but hopefully he keeps up this awfulness for 2 more weeks so that the Commander can beat him, and then I hope he does better.
Now, what's worse right now, being a Bears or a Broncos fan? I would say Broncos fan right now.
Absolutely,
70-20 just like feels like you got paid.
Yeah, it's that, and also the fact that you went into this season, like you're going into this season now, like this is kind of like that 2017 Orioles, where it was like you were kind of going into it and you're like, this is probably not going to work out. Like everybody was kind of in their last year, and like it went horribly, and it was like, okay, the rebuild hasn't even started this year. We got to wait till next year to like really start it. And like that's what the Broncos fans are in right now, where you're like, none of these games matter. We just need to lose them. But like we can't even be excited about really watching anybody on that team because a lot of them are going to be gone probably next year. And at least the Bears are kind of like, you got some young guys on that team on defense and stuff that you can be kind of excited about. But I think both teams are looking at overhauls.
A Steelers trade for Patrick Surtain. I've been thinking about this, because just think about the Minka trade. Give up a first round, give up a couple high round draft picks. We don't need that fucking pick. You bring in another dog in the secondary on that for that defense. That's the team. That is the team. We've committed to it.
That's the problem.
We've committed to it. Yeah, we will. We will eventually.
But that would be crazy. Yeah. I don't think they're letting him go, though. I think he's like the one piece that they'll hang on to.
I know, but
it's not like Minka where he was. And you almost wonder if Minka's kind of like, maybe I should have just stayed in Miami.
Nah, Minka would have never got the chance. Never got the chance he did. In Pittsburgh. As soon as he came to Pittsburgh, he flipped his whole career around. No one was talking about him as a top corner because they had him playing corner, I think, in Miami. They didn't even have him playing
that Buffalo nickel.
Yeah, true safety. Didn't have him playing like a true safety. We let him lurk, which he's good best at, and they just poor usage down there out of him. And then he came to Pittsburgh and had a pick and a fumble recovery instantly in his first game. And everyone was like, this is the next Troy.
He's still young, too, isn't he? He's only 26, 27, something like that.
Oh, that's my man.
Yeah.
Just still got robbed last year. He blocked that kick against Green Bay. No one remembers that, but he blocked that kick.
All right, so we had the Chiefs. They beat them. Dolphins, Bills. The surprise beatdown of the week that really screwed me with my 1 o'clock parlay. The Houston Texans just absolutely dominating the Jaguars, 37-17. The game that was never close. There was never any kind of the Jags were never in this game. It felt like, and C.J. Stroud looked great. And he is progressing every week and looking more and more like a NFL starting quarterback.
He looks like the best quarterback out of that class so far. He's been great through all 3 games. This one just outstanding performance overall. I think looking back on the first 2 weeks, I think we kind of underrated the Colts and the Texans a little bit because the Texans had that close game against the Ravens. Their defense played well against the Ravens, and C.J. Stroud picked it up later in the game, got a lot of yards late. And then that second week when they played each other, close games throughout, Colts pulled away late. But their offense played well that week. And then this week, they kind of brought it all together. Defense played great, shut down Trevor Lawrence, and what we thought would be
that crazy kick return.
Yeah, that 85-yard kick return. Yeah. But just dominated what we thought would be a explosive offense. Jacksonville might I don't know what's going on there. And CJ Stroud looked phenomenal.
What did Trevor Lawrence have 4 interceptions?
That game, did he actually?
I think he had 4. Or let me see. Maybe I'm just talking out of my ass, which is not entirely impossible.
I'm pulling it up. Trevor Lawrence had 1 interception.
1 interception. I don't know where I got 4 interceptions from. But regardless, he didn't have a great game. And yeah, I mean, sorry, I'm just
very lackluster from him this year.
But yeah, I mean, they're just kind of starting lethargic, kind of, surprising. I thought they would hit the ground running after last year. I thought they'd be one of the top 5 teams in the AFC this year because I thought their defense already had talent. Their offense, especially with Ridley, like we talked about earlier, was going to take off. But maybe they're just like a slow burn. It'll take them a minute to kind of get going. But, that was a bad loss this week. But, I mean, no, I got to give credit to the Texans. Like I said, I think DeMeco Ryans is going to be a really good coach.
Yeah, he's looking fantastic. He's got that team motivated, ready to go every week.
Yeah, and they're scrappy. And hopefully they get Dameon Pierce going a little bit because he's been pretty slow in these past to start the year at least, and he was great last year.
Mm-hmm. He was like their standout on offense last year.
He was their only player last year.
Yeah. Well, Nico Collins didn't go in this year.
Nico Collins, yeah. When I went down there, that was a surprise. I went down for the Texans-Commanders game, and there was a lot of Nico Collins jerseys out there in the crowd, which I was like, that's kind of, I feel like he would have been like a number 4 receiver on a lot of other teams, but he's playing well. And then the other blowout, the Browns just continue to play with everybody by looking great one week, looking horrible the next, great the next, horrible the next. But they actually looked really good this week, beating down 27-3. Big win for them.
I was impressed by Deshaun Watson this weekend. Not gonna lie. Last week, kind of challenged him on our show. I was talking about how this now is all on Deshaun's shoulders. Carry
made
this
a few
team.
massage jokes.
Yeah, and then he went out there, seemed like he was massaged up because he was feeling loose, playing free, delivering the ball really well. Actually, I think he
soft
had
hands.
89 completion percentage or something like that, something crazy. So he looked fantastic. The Browns defense might be like a legit, like top 3 defense in the league. Yeah, which
Myles
makes
Garrett
me
is looking like he's
feel way better about the Steelers beating them.
Yeah, I mean, the Steelers look scrappy, man. I mean, and honestly, Kenny had a few good throws in that game, and I think it's one of those things. Like if they can get the offense like on the same page somehow, like they'll be a legit contender in the AFC. But I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves because that's going to be one of our.
Don't
Nobody heard that. Browns had an impressive win, though. All right, so that does lead into our next segment, I guess. A brand new segment on the PCFP. It is called Jabronis or Contenderonies. It is where we will take a few teams who are kind of in the middle. They're either jabronis or contenderonies. They're good teams, but are they great teams? Are they bad teams or are they good teams? We decide. And our word is gospel. So the first team that we'll be looking at are the Dallas Cowboys, who, like we said, cowboyed as hard as they possibly could have cowboyed this week. So my question to you, are the Dallas Cowboys jabronis or contenderonies?
I had this thought today, but the Cowboys are actually contenderonies. Weird, because I was hating on the Cowboys last week, took them to loss, was shitting on them, saying they're the same old Cowboys, they're dog shit, they're gonna choke. But for some reason to me, the loss usually doesn't come this early. I feel like usually it's deeper in the season. They get the easy work out of the way. Then the Eagles come up week 8 or something, and it's like a close game, but they lose. And they're like, oh, at least we were close with the Eagles. There's still hope that in the playoffs we can win. And then the 49ers thing happens, or the Eagles again will come to town and stomp you. But mostly the 49ers in the playoffs because of their run game. Also, but I do think it getting out of the way so early and being just such a terrible team like the Cardinals, everyone really thinking the Cardinals are going to be the worst team in the league this year. Cardinals really put it on them, just dominating the front, like the offensive front, the defensive front. So it was just, I think it will end up benefiting them. I think it will keep them motivated, make them realize they can't underestimate any opponent. They can't take any opponent lightly. We're the Cowboys. They're all coming for us. We've been talking our shit all year. Let's go back this up. So I honestly do think they make that NFC Championship game this year. So I'm going to say they're a contender-roni.
You ignorant slut.
Dog, I don't even like the Cowboys.
They are as jabroni as you get, in my opinion, because you just lose Trayvon Diggs, as we talked about. But I don't even think that's the biggest hit. Like, I just think this team doesn't believe in Dak. Like, I don't think CeeDee Lamb likes Dak Prescott. I don't think the team really gets behind him. I don't think I take that. They like him as a person, but I just don't think they're very frustrated with him. You could see it visibly in that game. And he threw an awful interception in the red zone, in the end zone. And to me, it just like sums it up. It's like if you're going to do that in this game against Arizona, like you can look at it like they're getting this kind of mulligan out of the way early in the year. But like, I just don't see them as any different than these last few years where you had Dan Quinn being this kind of new defensive coordinator who was really kind of like unleashing their aggressiveness. This is his third year here now. Like, this defense isn't getting any better than it currently is. And if they can't stop Joshua Dobbs right now, I just can't imagine like what's going to happen with like Jalen Hurts. Now, they usually play the Eagles pretty good, and like they actually beat the Eagles. They kind of have the Eagles' number in the regular season. Like, besides injury, Dak kind of does his thing against them. But I just don't see them beating the Niners. They're still a talented team. Like I said, they'll still win like 11-some games, but it's not going to be any different than it was last year. And so I'm going to say jabronis. Big-time jabronis.
Yeah, fun facts about Dan Quinn real quick. My former football coach for the Westminster Wildcats was like boys with Dan Quinn.
Oh, right. Did he go to Salisbury?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That he like played football with him.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Do you have any nice things to say about him?
Yeah, he said he's like a cool dude. He when he was the head coach of the Falcons, when they were like good and made that like Super Bowl run, he took like his kid down there.
28-3.
Yeah, he took like his kid down there and toured like the facilities and all.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Was he bald back then?
Yeah.
He just seems like a guy who's been bald his whole life.
Yeah.
The moment of conception. All right, the next team on our jabronis or contenderonis list, another NFC East team. They had a handled victory against Tampa Bay on Monday night, the Philadelphia Eagles.
This is why the Cowboys are true contenders this year, because the Eagles are jabronis. I don't know what it is about the Eagles, but I hated on them all last year too, and I still just don't believe it. Their run game is spectacular. They dominate up front. That offensive line is clearly the best O-line. They open up holes that trucks to drive through. Like, there is nothing like it. DeAndre Swift looks like the Eagles fleeced another team in a trade. Like, he's looked phenomenal the past 2 weeks, which is terrible because week 1 that he didn't get any touches, so I dropped him in my fantasy league because I was like, oh, he's not going to get touches. And then this dude is just crazy.
300 yards through 2 weeks.
I know, so I've been regretting that. But I think the Eagles just, I don't know, their offense just doesn't seem to be gelling as much. It is good for them that like they haven't clearly played like their best football yet, and they're 3-0. But I just don't have the confidence in them, and I hate that little fucking QB sneak play. Like, it's starting to piss me off, and I have no like attachment to the Eagles. Like, I just don't like the play at all. It's like I'm watching 1933 football, and these people are
just pushing. Yeah, there was a movement over the offseason to make it illegal.
I know. I don't know why they didn't.
I think it's one of those things where it's like,
I don't get why no one else ever tries this maneuver.
That's
like,
why? That's what I was just about to say. People do try it, and people can't do it. So it's like one of those things where it's all a leverage play. Like, you look at how low those offensive linemen get. Like, it's like impossible to get over them. But like there's going to be a defensive coordinator who's able to try and scheme to try and stop it. Because kind of the key is to it's really hard, but you have to get somebody in the backfield to like pull Hurts back. Like, you need somebody who's back there to kind of hold him back. And the Commanders actually were able to do it last year because Montez Sweat on a fourth and 1 in that Monday night game where they won actually got into the backfield and like held him back. And like the offensive line wasn't able to get the leverage that they usually are.
This is where I miss my boy to watch Troy P, because ain't no one doing that bullshit. She's coming in over the top,
paralyzing himself just to stop him.
Yeah.
All right, so I actually, as much as I despise the Philadelphia Eagles, I do think they're contenderonies, and I may sound a little contradictory here by saying the Cowboys are jabronis, but the NFC is overall just not a great conference right now, and I don't see any other teams except the Eagles and the Niners having that rematch in the NFC Championship game. They're just so talented on like every level. The only thing to me is like I do think San Francisco is going to end up being the team to represent the NFC because I think the Eagles, like you were saying, they're not playing their strongest football and they haven't really played anybody yet. Like they played New England, Minnesota, and now Tampa, and like all three teams are
put up a
daunting in their own way. Yeah, but like it's like there's an argument the Eagles should have lost week 1. Week 2, like the Vikings defense is terrible. So like it's honestly not a surprise that DeAndre Swift was able to do what he was able to do. And last night it was one of those. I mean, Tampa's got a good defense, but Baker looked lost. And I'm
Jalen didn't look good at all, though.
Yeah, that's it. Jalen looks. Apparently, he was sick last night, but in every single game this year, he has. If it hasn't been for the running game taking over, like he kind of is. He's not on the same page as the receivers. There's a lot of broken plays. There's a lot of balls where he's completely missing guys. And last year, if you remember, like it was just like everything was like a well-oiled machine. Like, and there's really no excuse as far as like you have two of the best receivers, maybe the best receiving tandem in the league, and the best offensive line in the league. I know they're still kind of trying to figure it out with Brian Johnson, their new offensive coordinator, but I think they'll figure it out eventually. I do think they're contenderonies, like I said, just out of the mere fact that the NFC is not that strong. But there's definitely question marks surrounding like their execution rather than the talent on their team. And do I think they'll figure it out? Yeah. Will they win the NFC East? Yes, I think so. But they need to answer some questions. They need to look better going forward against good teams.
I agree with you that the 49ers definitely probably will be representing the NFC, but I just think that's where I just did the switch. I just think the Cowboys will be there instead of the Eagles this year. I just like what the Cowboys have going for them more. I like their defense more. I don't like their offense more, but I don't know. Jalen Hurts has been playing too weird for me this year. He's just not looking the same at all.
Yeah, he's definitely not as sharp as he was last year. All right, next team, our hometown squad that neither of us are a fan of. The Baltimore Ravens, contenderonies or jabronis.
Jabronis. The Ravens have that cowboy issue. That Lamar has that cowboy issue. He's one of the most hyped players in the league. Everyone loves Lamar. MVP for only unanimous MVP ever. But the offense has looked terrible this year. Besides, week 2, the offense looked a little better, but I don't know. I still wasn't impressed against with their win against the Bengals. I don't think the Bengals are really that good right now, especially with Joe Burrow's injury. So I think they should have more handily won that game. I think they should have dominated the Texans to open the year. And they should have beat the Colts this week, and that's very disappointing. And their team just Zay Flowers stand out on that offense, but the team just hasn't looked that good to me, at least. And I put my faith in them last week for the first time ever, and they let a brother down.
Yeah, I think I'm with you on this. I think they are as jabroni as you can be, to be honest. I think this team doesn't look any different than it's looked in years past. They're having the same problems with injuries that they have in years past. And I have been tooting the horn that they need to move on from John Harbaugh for 3 years now, because I think they need someone fresh. They need somebody who's going to be more innovative with how to use Lamar. And hiring Todd Monken just doesn't seem to have moved the needle at all. The offense looks the exact same. In fact, it looks even more bland than it did with Roman, which is what they were trying to move on from. They were trying to kind of maximize Lamar as a passer rather than a runner. And the offense just looks kind of like broken play galore. Like I said, Zay Flowers looks great, but they're having they need to get him the ball more, and there needs to just be more.
Yeah, Mark Andrews is non-existent this year, which is crazy. Yeah. He's a top tight end and second best tight end sometimes in this league. Could argue sometimes first some weeks. He's a high productive tight end.
There should be easy zone schemes to get him open in space, and they just don't seem to be able to do that. The defense is good, but I don't think that front seven is great. Like you said, they lost to the Colts at home, against a backup quarterback. Yeah. That's just
those Ravens fans
inexcusable.
Those Ravens fans were beautiful to watch.
That was a quiet stadium after that. And I mean, in that Houston game too. I mean, Houston, who knows after Sunday, but they struggled in that first half against them. It's just not. And the Bengals win, like you said, doesn't look as impressive as it did when it happened. But they have to show a lot. And I just don't think that I worry that they're even going to make the playoffs this year, because that AFC is too strong. Their division's too strong.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think I had them making the playoffs. I'll have to go check back my playoff predictions from before the season started. I wrote them all down. But they're also against the Colts in overtime. They got the ball twice on their 40 or the 50-yard line, and they did nothing on offense. When you literally just need 7 yards to get in Tucker's field goal range, they literally couldn't even do that. So
and they keep complaining about that pass interference on speed, and it's look, he got there a little early, but I don't think that was enough to call pass interference. With what we've been seeing at the end of games from refs and what they're calling and not calling, there should be no surprise that wasn't called. And
yeah,
honestly, it's one of those things. If you're blaming the refs, you didn't lose the game because of the refs. There was 1,000 other things you probably could have done throughout the game, especially against the Colts, to win that game.
Don't let the refs have the chance to make the decision to decide the game.
Yeah, it was just a crappy played game. You can just say that you didn't get cheated out of a win. You guys just sucked. All right, so this leads to another AFC North team, the Cincinnati Bengals, who had a boring and sort of complicated win against LA, since they seemed very hype about it. But are they jabronis or contenderonis sitting at 1-2?
I'm gonna go. This is a tough one because I like all the talent, but I don't think Burrow's healthy. I don't think he'll be able to get healthy behind that line. Their line's just so depleted. They haven't been able to fix that problem. He gets hit so much. I can't imagine when the Steelers come to town. We always sack him 6 times in a game. So just imagine that with the Steelers. You got you got to play the Browns again, who went crazy on him the first week. The Ravens even have a good pass rush. Got to play them again. There's a bunch of teams they're playing this year with good pass rushes, and against that O-line, he's just going to be a sitting duck back there. So I have him as jabronis because I don't see Burrow getting healthy. He hasn't looked the same on that limp leg. So they're just not the same team when he's not playing up to Joe Burrow level.
Yeah, and last night's victory wasn't even like encouraging. Like it looked like it was a lot of him just like relying, which isn't a bad thing, but he was just relying on Jamar Chase like the entire game to catch the ball. And usually with him, you can see him spreading out the ball. He gets it to Higgins, he gets it to Chase, he gets it to the tight end, he's able to really spread it around, get Joe Mixon going. And it just didn't seem like that. Everything was very strained to get anything going. And I say that I want to say they're contender earnings just because he's Joe Burrow, and I think that they can ultimately get it together. But I feel like it's just almost the same thing as the Ravens, where that division right now looks so like heated, where everybody is kind of in this area of like they can be really good, but they're not playing very well. But I just don't know if I see them beating the Bills this year. I don't know. Can I see them beating Kansas City or Miami? I don't know. So for that, I think I have to go with jabronis, but with an asterisk on it, because I think that they could very easily get it together.
Yeah, if Burrow, if it somehow happens that while playing, his leg completely heals, they're going to be in it. Like, Burrow gives them the opportunity to be in it every season. As long as they make it to the dance, he can take them as far as they need. But I don't see it happening behind the line. Yeah, exactly.
Somebody needs to take the beautiful Joe Burrow to the dance. Somebody ask.
Yeah.
All right. So now we move on to the Buffalo Bills. Jabronis or contenderonis?
I'm hating on everyone, it seems like.
A lot of AFC teams here on this ending slate.
Yeah, but I'm doing this because I'm only going to pit 2 contenderonis for each conference because I feel like that's how it should be. So I'm going to say the Bills are jabronis also. I don't see them making it past the divisional round. Josh Allen, he has been good the past 2 weeks, but the ball control thing is still a big issue to me. I think he had didn't he at least throw one against the Commanders?
He did. He had one interception. It kind of worked as a punt, though. It was like a third down that he just chucked.
Yeah, that's kind of how a lot of them come, but some of them also come in big situations, and I don't like his ball control. He fumbles a lot too, it seems like, I feel like. So teams trying to take advantage with that, around the edge arm swipe on him.
Mm-hmm.
So the turnover issue is always trying to rear their head at the worst time for them too. Also, they're not going to compete with the Dolphins and the Chiefs. The Chiefs just own them. Like, I don't think Josh Allen has anything on Mahomes. And the Bills' defense, their pass rushes look good, but I'm not sold on their defense. They haven't played any top offenses yet this year. I know they have the number 1 scoring defense in the league right now, but you played Zach Wilson, you played Jimmy G. Not the most impressive thing to me.
Left out Sam Howell there.
Yeah, I wasn't gonna shit on you, guy. I was gonna be nice.
It's all good. I can take it. Now, yeah, I'm going to say contenderonis for the Bills, just because I feel like as long as you have a quarterback like Josh Allen, who has the ability to take over these games and be unbeatable, you're going to have a chance. And also, I think they're on the verge of Stephon Diggs, killing him at this point if they don't figure it out. And if that, the Bills, it's the big key for them is that defense staying healthy. I feel like they kind of lost steam when Micah Hyde got hurt last year, and he's a huge part of that defense. He's a huge part of keeping them going. He's a great, super smart player. And their front four is, I mean, they're going to get Von Miller back, and Greg Rousseau is really good. And I think if that defense is playing really well, they can beat the Chiefs. And I think, I mean, offensively, they can get it done. I do want to see them play better teams, see how they do. But I think they can, like, Miami is one of those teams where I'm like, obviously they're incredible offensively, but it's one of those things where, like, if they really do go against a team of, like, the Buffalo's caliber or something, like, what happens? And for that reason, I say contenderoni, just because I put them all in that kind of upper echelon. I think the Bills are there, but they still need to prove that they can get it done.
I just like Miami way more than the Bills. I liked just what they've been doing. I like their offensive system way more. I trust it way more than I trust Josh Allen at all. Like, I put faith in Josh Allen for years. Coaching is massive, and Mike McDaniels is a top 5 coach in the league to me. Like, he is killing it. He is killing it down there in Miami. He's turned that whole franchise around. Tua wasn't even thought about 2 years ago. Like, everyone was talking about how he's a bust 2 years ago, and now he's the lead runner for MVP. Like,
it's crazy.
That's a coaching thing.
Yeah. Even if he doesn't have to do that much. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. Yeah. All right, the last team I have on here. Yours truly. The pride of Northern Pennsylvania.
Oh.
Or no, they're not Northern Pennsylvania, are they? What are they?
Western.
Western Pennsylvania.
I think they can say. I think most people would say the pride of Western Pennsylvania.
Western Pennsylvania. Yeah, I was sitting there. I was like, no, they're like all the way. Yeah. So, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Let's edit out that part where I say Northern.
And then the part where you say edit out the part.
Yeah. Three Steelers.
I'm gonna let you start here.
I'm gonna go ahead and say contenderoni for the Steelers. I think that defense is very encouraging to me, and I think they can steal, no pun intended, steal games that they're not supposed to win. And that front, Alex Highsmith and TJ Watt are a formidable duo. And, like, they just keep the heat going and they just don't give up. And I believe in that. I believe Kenny Pickett and that offense will get it together, especially if Deontay Johnson's able to get healthy. I think they need to switch fully over to Jaylen Warren being the starting running back and get him more touches, because I don't know what happened to Najee Harris, but he is just looking – he's got Eddie Lacy syndrome right now. Looks like he's running in jeans. Like,
it's terrible.
He's just so slow.
It looks slow. It looks like he has no power behind himself. Like, he's not even like dropping the boom on people anymore. Like last year, by the end of the year, he was throwing like mean stiff arms. He's doing nothing to like get any space from anyone. I mean, the holes really aren't there, but at least like when you're a power runner, I feel like you can kind of create some holes, and he's just not doing that at all.
Yeah, it's just kind of, he's not explosive. He's not, like you said, not getting any kind of push. And Jaylen Warren just looks like every time he touches the ball, he just kind of is like popping out of the backfield. I know he's kind of undersized, but I just think give him more of a shot. But yeah, I think the Steelers have what it takes to kind of, like I said, steal some games. I think they can make it into the playoffs and just kind of, it's not going to be pretty, but it's like one of those things where you'll be like, how the hell did they get here? But they
hasn't been pretty for years.
But you never give up on Mike Tomlin either. Like, no, that's a big thing for me is Mike Tomlin.
Mike Tomlin's a big key to this all. But TJ Watt to me, if the Steelers go somehow like 11-6, 12-5, TJ Watt's my MVP. Like, that man, if he breaks the sack record by like, he's on pace for, he's had 3 sacks in no, he's had 6 sacks in 3 games. That's like, let me do the math real quick. That's 30 sacks in 15 games. Like,
Yeah, it's blowing the sack record out of the water.
I mean, he's not going to keep up that pace, but just imagine he gets like 26.5 sacks or something crazy like that. And he's already recovered 2 fumbles. He already has forced like a fumble.
And a touchdown, right?
He has a touchdown. He's going to have a bunch of batted balls at the line that could end up being INTs in other people's hands, but he'll get that pass defense. But TJ Watt's
he's the leader of that squad.
Yeah, that defense is just phenomenal. Like, it just keeps us in every game. If it wasn't for that defense, this team wouldn't be like, I wouldn't really have too much faith. But just because we have 8 turnovers already, we might be allowing the yards, but it's kind of that we're used to this in Pittsburgh at this point. Like, we're gonna give up the yards. We've realized that, but we're gonna bend. We're not gonna break. We're not letting you get in the end zone. We're gonna maybe force a turnover on our side of the field. There's always that chance when you got players coming off both edges. Quarterbacks are always flustered, so they could throw a pick. I have hope. I'm gonna say, because I put my money where my mouth is. I got that parlay of the O's, and then the O's winning the World Series and the Steelers winning the Super Bowl. So I'm gonna say the Steelers are not only contender-onies, they're going to be your Super Bowl champions.
They're going to just defensive touchdown their way all the way to the top.
Now, am I completely sold on that? Not really, but I have to say that.
I'm getting there.
I have to have faith in the boys. Yeah. I got the money down. That's $40K. I need that.
They were a Josh McDaniels boneheaded decision to kick the field goal instead of go for the touchdown there in the end.
Well, Dodd, what was your thought on that Minka penalty? Did you see that?
One?
The roughing the passer.
Oh, that was awful.
Just let them back in the game. They were like,
Like, part of me was like, it did technically, yes, his helmet touched Jimmy's helmet.
But Jimmy goes...
Jimmy, it was an acting job. Like, he goes down like he was knocked the hell out. Like, he was like, he twisted his body. Like,
Jimmy kind of like drops his head into it. He's like, because he's like falling backwards before like Minka gets there. So he kind of lowers himself, and then the head kind of grazes his head. And the ref's just like...
It's one of those things now, though, too. Like, you just have to expect, like, any kind of hit on the quarterback is going to be treated like that at this point, which sucks, but it's just kind of how it goes.
Yeah. They almost hit us. I would have been so mad. That Cole Holcomb hit on Devontae Adams across the middle, where he just absolutely sticks him in the air, and then the flag comes in, and it's just the cleanest hit of all time. Like, this dude catches him shoulder straight to like his chest area. Then I'm like, no way, they're dogging us right now. And then they waved it off, thank God, or else they would have been catching hate from everyone.
Yeah, some of these flags, the no calls and the actual calls have just been ridiculous, but that kind of given with every year. No. Jimmy G and that Raiders offense, I'm kind of like watching them the other night. I was like, this team could be good. Like they have 3 good receivers and I mean, they have a great receiver in Adams. You got a good receiver in Jacoby Myers, and you have a pesky receiver in Hunter Renfrow. Like, they could be a good off. And Josh Jacobs is one of the best running backs in the league. Like, it could be good. As stupid as that, like, you know,
impressive.
I was watching him.
The Steelers defense somehow shut down the run game. We usually don't do that. Like, the first 2 weeks, we struggled against the run and held Jacobs to like on 50 yards or something like that. So
yeah, he's had 2 games this year now. Week 1, the Denver defense stifled him too. But I like that he switched from the 28 to the 8. I think that's pretty sick. Apparently, it's not doing so good for him now.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to be. He's in less yards. That's why you don't drop numbers. You only go up.
Yeah. All right, so we are running at about an hour here. We should probably wrap this thing up. But real quick, or should we save the Vikings for next week, or do we want to talk about the Vikings real quick?
Oh, I'd rather talk about Brandon Staley. Fuck that guy.
We gotta make it quick. That's the we need to wrap
Yeah,
this
well,
thing up.
we shit on this dude every week too. It's like Justin Fields, but what a dumbass going for it on 4th and 1 on his. He literally signed the resignation to his job and put it in, and the Vikings went in there and were like, "You don't want to resign, actually."
Yeah,
So
like,
we're not. We're gonna throw. Yeah.
That was ridiculous. Yeah, I mean, he is, like I said, like you said, like just been awful since he got there. Like every single, like he's always like you have these coaches like with Doug Peterson with the Eagles, like that year they won the Super Bowl. Where he's making these ballsy decisions, like going for it on 4th down, like these places where he really doesn't need to or shouldn't, and it working out. And it's like Brandon Staley is like the other half of that, where it's like he does all this stuff and it never works out, and it's cost them like everything. And yeah, I mean, I do wonder if he even gets on the plane if they don't end up pulling that game out.
Well, it's just like terrible play calls too in those situations. 4th and 1, I think they lined up in like kind of an I formation, but like a shotgun I. Like he's like in the gun kind of with the running back behind him. And I always hate when it's like 3rd and 1, 4th and 1, and you're gonna run the ball and you're in shotgun because you're instantly giving people 3 more yards. Like, what is that?
Do the push. Do the push.
Justin everyone.
Herbert is a big guy. Like, do the push.
Yeah, but it's ridiculous. And he's just like, it seems like he's playing Madden online 90% of the time. Like those kids that don't punt in that game, that's like Brandon Staley in the 4th quarter in a crucial situation. He's like, I'm up 4 on my 22 with only 50 seconds left and they have no timeouts. Oh, clear decision here. Let's go for it.
Yeah, let's make this thing a little interesting, shall we, boys? But yeah, Chargers lucky to get that one. Vikings very unlucky. Kirk Cousins is having like an MVP caliber season and just not like the defense for them is just absolutely ass.
The only thing about the Vikings that kind of made me mad is that they blamed their fans for their terrible end of the game. Like they blamed the fans being too loud. And I was like, spike the ball. Like how the fans are not heard in that communication. All you gotta do is like that's the motion. But they were like, we're gonna try running a play.
Yeah. It's just Kirk's never been the best at that, man. Remember he in that game when he was with us, when he was at the Redskins, and it was like 2-minute drill, end of the half for the NFC East, and he goes down. We were at the 2-yard line with like 5 seconds left, and he goes down there. He should have just spiked it, and he kneeled it, and it was like it was unbelievable. And from that point, it felt like they were not going to. And they ended up beating the crap out of the Eagles at the end, but. It was one of those things where it was like, man, that is not a good look.
Yeah, but that was terrible. Blaming the fans, your own fans, for being too loud. Yeah. After you somehow make a miraculous stop because the other coach is, and then you get a 1st down and you're on the goal line. They're probably thinking you're spiking it because that's the normal thing to do. And they're going wild. Yeah, the fans.
The fans.
Fuck the fans.
Not us, the fans, the people out there eating hot dogs. Yeah. All right. I think that wraps up episode 4 of PCFP. Yes. We'll be back with you on either Thursday or maybe do another Friday night. Add some brewskis to the mix. That was intriguing. It's always fun.
That was an interesting night. I hit my eye on the side of a monitor. Bending over to pick something up. Like this monitor that I'm right in front of me over here. It just I slammed my eyeball trying to pick something up that night, and I got a little bit of a bruise like right here.
Man, you got yourself a shiner. So yeah, maybe a Thursday, but the Friday night one is always a rockin' sockin' good time.
Yeah.
All right, my friend. Hopefully next time we speak, the Orioles are officially AL East champions. If they are not, then we are in trouble.
So yeah,
but hopefully they are.
They are, right. And they're gonna hit that first leg of my parlay. And then, as I said, Steelers Super Bowl champs.
As I always say, if you are listening to us at this moment, if you have gone all the way through this podcast, you're still here with us, please send us your information because we need to notify the officials that we both have a stalker and that we need their help to find you because you are harassing us. Just kidding.
If you stalk us, we'll stalk you.
If you stalk us, we love you.
Yes. Stockholm Syndrome.
All right.
Just dabbed up out of here.
Are we done recording now?